You asked for it, and we listened. This is another episode of Woodworking is Bullshit. I'm your host, Paul Jasper, scientist by day, woodworker by night, and I'm here with my favorite co-host, Erik motherfucking Curtis.
What's good, playboy?
Professional furniture maker and content creator. Erik.
I really hesitated on that. What was running through your head when you said professional?
If you want to know what, the answer was actually I blanked. I'm not even joking.
He is a professional at something. The world just is not sure what.
I was like, professional, what do I say? Furniture maker and content creator. Oh, that's what I say. So I started by saying you asked for it. We listened. This is episode 2 of Barstool Confessions.
Round 2, baby. Let's go. The people love it when Paul reacts to shit and everything's not mapped out scientifically. It's just
don't
raw,
be a
pure,
bitch.
Uncut emotion.
All right. So I should tell you all, the first time Erik and I did this, it was a total experiment. It was us being back together at the bar, just talking about life. We each came with a surprise question. And who knows where that led to. And we heard so many comments. There were more comments on that episode, I think, than any episode ever, really. And they all said the same thing, that we love the new format. Please, please, please do it again.
Keep blowing it up so that Paul has to admit that sometimes I have a good fucking idea.
You have a lot of good ideas. It's just that sometimes
they do tank.
You listen to me, you little fuck. Sometimes winging it in the absence of all structure is not what we need.
I'm not saying that it's always a good idea. I'm just saying that sometimes, like when you try something new, it can be a home run or it can be a strikeout. You got to be accepting of both.
You fucking look at me through the video feed when you say that. Your eyes were darting around everywhere else except looking at me, which tells me something.
I'm speaking my truth out here, buddy boy.
Okay. I want to say that recently it came to my attention, speaking of the video feed, that people didn't know there was a video feed. I had a whole bunch of people. I spoke at a convention, a woodworking convention, Jason Bourbonmoth's Patreon Summit. I was the invited speaker. And I'll tell you all about this in the after show. But several people there were like, there's a video feed? And I was like, yeah.
Like our patrons didn't know that there was a video feed?
They weren't a patron, but they were a listener, a faithful listener of the podcast. So I want to take a moment to make this crystal clear. There is a video feed to every single episode, and it's on YouTube. And all you have to do to get it is become a patron at least the $5 level, which is pretty darn cheap. If you do the $5 level, you get the video feed of every episode. And if you do the $10 level, you not only support us more, but you get the after show as well. And there's one more level, which is for really dedicated people that want like personal feedback or the ability to ask questions. That's the $20 level. So I realized I never really talked about because we're not big on.
We never pumped the Patreon.
No,
and you know what? I'm glad that we don't, and I'm glad that people get value out of the show. And then if they find it so valuable, they go and seek that out. That's wonderful. I really do appreciate that. I do, while we're here, while we're pumping the pod, I want to let folks know that an episode that Paul and I have been tossing around for a while is to take the questions that come in from patrons and to do a Q&A based on those. So it's kind of like a Barstool Confessions style episode where we have questions from people that then Paul and I react to and give our honest opinions about. So if you are, what levels did we say could submit questions?
I think that was 10 and 20.
10 and 20. So if you're a $10 or $20 a month patron, send some messages, send some questions that and it could be specific technique stuff. It could be woodworking philosophy. It could be business related. It could be just making fun of me, Paul, whoever it is, like Mary, even though she's not here. Whatever the situation is, send some in so that we can react to them, because that would be a really fun episode. And we just dropped merch. We just dropped t-shirts over on Bonfire. Our shop is, of course, called Woodworking is Bullshit. We've got Aloha Wood shirts. We've got
Old Daddy
Greenback shirts. We've got and of course the OG, the Woodworking is Bullshit shirts. And I dropped some mugs up there too. So if you guys are interested in going to purchase some merch, go do that. And that'd be a great way to support the pod too.
Eric, how did they find the link for that? Did we publish the link somewhere?
Before this episode comes out, I will make sure that is posted in our link tree on Instagram. But It's also just bonfire.com/woodworking is bullshit.
Okay. So again, we haven't talked about any of this in like 36 episodes because you and I are not really into that for this thing. This thing's all about like authenticity. But like, look, if people want to see the video feed and they want the after show, I want them to have access to it. So we have a Patreon. You can join it if you like, and that's what you'll get.
Hundo P.
All right. So back to what we are talking about today. This is episode 2 of Barstool Confessions. As I said, we had more comments about this format than any other episode, where it's just Eric and I getting back to our roots. And we decided to do the same thing where each of us comes with a question for both of us, really. And we did not tell each other what that question was, which always makes me a little nervous because I like
how much more comfortable are you with it now this time around?
0%.
Even though people responded positively to it, you're still nervous about it.
No, it's good. It's good because it doesn't really require that much prep because we're not discussing a topic in any sort of academic or historical way where you have to look things up. This is really about you and I being honest with each other and just like having a conversation. So that I can do off the cuff.
Okay, playboy. Well, do you want to dive in?
Let's go.
All right. So let me paint you a little picture. Let me tell you a story. Recently, as you well know, Sarah and I went up to Maine to go interview Aled Lewis, who was my teacher during the 9-month in 2012-2013 at CFC. You know this because we came and stayed the night with you and Vicky and had a gay old time just hanging out, partying, drinking, and just being humans together. We got some very average Italian food at a restaurant that your daughter was very upset that we had to go to, and it was hilarious. But that's neither here nor there. That's not the point of this question. So we went up to CFC, and I sat down with Aled, who he's been in the industry for 50 years. He started as an apprentice when he was 16. He's 65, 66 now. He's done it all. He's built cabinets. He's done built-ins. He's done construction work. He's done fine furniture. He's been in magazines. He's been in galleries. He has taught one of the premier furniture programs in the country. And the thing that he said to me in this 40-minute sit-down interview that has not left my brain, that I don't think he said to me in the past, but maybe he did and I just wasn't ready to hear it, was good design is the articulation of one significant thought. I'll say that again because it's something to chew on. Good design is the articulation of one significant thought. And so this is kind of a 2-part question reflecting on that idea, that philosophy. I see your face.
I don't know.
Hold on, let me get there. So, I will say this. Everything that I've ever done that's good, that's really good, that's been complimented as among my best pieces, I think falls into that philosophy. But this is not about me. This is about you. Do you agree or do you disagree with that statement?
I disagree. I disagree very pointedly.
Go on.
I think that is an oversimplification that's fucking gimmicky and kitschy. And
woo, guns a blazing.
Okay. It's true that good design can have one. It's the articulation of one thought. Is that what it's
one significant thought?
Okay. While that's true, that can be true. That's not false. But good design can be the articulation of multiple good, like the articulation of multiple thoughts. I would like to submit, Your Honor, Exhibit 1, which was Jen and my koi tea box, which you are familiar with. Okay. Mm-hmm. That design is a combination, first of all, it's a combination of function and art being swirled together. It's a functional, artistic box. So to me, that's one design element. It's functional art. Number 2, it used figured woods that looked like water. It was a quilted maple, and it looked like ripples of water. To that, we married a Japanese aesthetic. Jen put koi fish and lily pads all over this box, right? You remember?
Do you have this thing listed? I am
it's
thinking
on my
of
website.
It, but
it's on my website. Yeah.
I just want to pull it up so I can argue with you.
Yeah. Koi tea box. Koi tea box number 2.
Mm-hmm.
It has pyrography, which is basically illustrations on figured wood on this piece of function and art. Beyond that, it has the Japanese Asanawa pattern mapped on the inside of the lid. It has copper accents, and I burned the inside yakisugi style with a torch and oiled it up. So the interior is all black. It's all blackened, just like you would, or shosugi-ban, a lot of people call that, but yakisugi is actually the correct term for, the Japanese use of it. Not that I'm being a stickler for details, but so to me, that particular piece, which is one of our best, without a doubt, Jen and I actually lament the fact that we'll never see that piece again in our lives. That to me took 3 or 4 different articulations or different thoughts and merged them together into one piece. So while what Alad said is not necessarily false, it's also not, that's a limiting definition. It doesn't have to be one.
Sure.
It could be 3.
Sure. Okay. So to that point, I think it's always going to be multiple, but in the same way that so using the elements and principles design as a guideline, anytime you choose to use an element and manipulate it via the principles, you're making the choice to manipulate one element, but you're always going to incorporate other elements just because that's just the nature of how things work.
Say his statement again.
It's the articulation of one significant thought. Okay.
Yeah, but that tea box has more than one significant thought.
Sure. I'm looking at it right now.
It's got
the pyrography, but all right, I'm going to push back on you because I think the entire thought of this box is the koi scene on the exterior of the box. That in coordination with the wood that you chose, it does give this flowy water feel to it, as a very clear idea of what that imagery wants to be. And I think it's really successful at that. To your point of having a different pattern on the inside, it's a lovely pattern, but it's that's not adding or subtracting to the koi scene.
I got it.
It's not in addition to. It's just
I see.
It's extracurricular, right?
I see how you're using that argument to make your point correct. However, hold on.
Okay. Hold on. I'm not done with my goddamn point yet, sir.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
We don't disagree a lot, so we're going to lean into this.
No, I got more.
I'm not trying to push Alad's idea, because I, like you, have thought that there's always going to be more than one thought, in an object, and that's what makes it interesting and good, that there's more to explore and discover. But I think in this box specifically, taking Alad's kind of idea out of it, there are 3 or 4 different thoughts. And when the box is closed, it's very clearly one thought. And when the
Agreed.
box is open, it's a different thought.
Agreed.
So those are two different maybe states of being for the box. And I don't know, as an entire composition, like looking at the second image you have on here where I'm seeing the top of the box and the inside of the box, so I'm not seeing the underside of the lid. Everything feels
all right. I get what you're
congruous.
saying.
Everything feels sympathetic.
Look, so I don't disagree that you can say, hey, look, the koi fish being all over this is the main design thought. I see why you would say that. But one could easily make the case that the design thought was really about the tea. It's a beautiful tea box. It holds bag tea and it holds loose leaf tea. That was the design thought, to make something beautiful that served such a perfect function for the tea drinker. That was the design thought. Someone could say that just as easily. So in essence, what I'm trying to get at is like, it's so subjective how you view this thing. You could say
that absolutely.
You could say, oh, the koi was the one design thought. You could easily say the function was the one design thought. So,
but then I think we could also,
even when you're now, hold on, now it's my turn. It's like this case of even when you're wrong, you're right. It's like, that's why I don't love that statement. It's because of like, yeah, you can shift and play word games to make it fit anything, but to me, this piece was more than one design. It articulated more than one thought at the same time.
I think that's fair. And to put Alid's statement in the context of his work, he is a minimalist through and through. I don't know that he would describe himself as a minimalist, but
that may be true for him.
His furniture is very much about like a single line, a single joint, a single point of accentuation. So I think for him and his philosophy, that absolutely holds true.
Okay, let me tell you why I think this holds true for me. I've noticed in my life, Erik, and this is not just woodworking. This is in my science life as well. I have realized that, and this took me a long time to notice about myself. I'm almost embarrassed how long it took me to observe this trait about myself. I naturally gravitate towards multidisciplinary. I gravitate towards multidisciplinary in woodworking. You can see, right?
Sure.
It's like I'm all over the place.
Copper, brass, engraving, carving,
exactly.
Shishugiban, all the things.
And then it dawned on me that that's exactly my science job too. I got a degree in like a pure discipline, like the molecular and cellular immunology. Like I was like biologist in the lab, right? That was my first focus. But then when I did my postdoc, I said, I don't want to just do classic reductionist biology. I want to combine it with computer science. And so when I got my postdoc, I only applied to laboratories that swirled biology and computer science together. And I had no experience in that at all. I had the cojones to apply to 10 labs that did only computer science mixed with biology. And I told them all, I wrote to all of them and I said, I know I don't have a ton of experience in this or any. But I assure you, I'm well trained. I can learn quick, and I will absolutely be able to I'm a computer child. I had computers my whole life. I coded and stuff. Just not professionally, but on the side. I know I can do this, and I know this is the right field for me. And 9 said no, and 1 said yes.
It only takes one, dog.
And all you need is one, and that started my career. Yep. And since then, I have been, for the last 17 years, in this multidisciplinary field of part biology, part computer science, and part mathematics. And that's what I do. I make mathematical models of biological systems and simulate them. And it dawned on me that I am a multidisciplinary seeker in every part of my life. It's the woodworking life and even the science life. And I think that's, for me, why multiple thoughts get manifested in each or articulated in each piece for me. You can, and I think Alid is different. Perhaps to him, a reductionist approach, one thought at a time, is really his sweet spot. How about you? Where do you fall on that?
So I think I split the difference between you two in that, like, you and I are very similar. I'm not necessarily multidisciplinary, though I think I am. Just in my creative practices in general, I've always been like, I'm a musician, I'm a woodworker. I'll dabble in painting, I'll dabble in clay, all of the different media.
Soap.
But it always in soap, whatever it is, plaster. It always comes back to woodworking for me. So it's not necessarily multidisciplinary. It is multimedia to an extent. Like, very rarely do I make an object that doesn't have something that's not wood in it. But reflecting on that statement, and maybe it's unfair, my bias toward Alad, because he's such a towering figure in my development as a woodworker. So I think I probably do have a bias to take what he says with extra gravity. But let's take the whiskey cabinet, for example, the carved whiskey cabinet. The entire idea for that cabinet was to make a vehicle, make a canvas to express this yearning for physical touch, physical interaction, physical relationships when we were at the peak of COVID, when nobody was allowed to be within 6 feet of each other.
I remember that.
And the rest of the cabinet, and I think this is partially where I developed this idea or this aesthetic of, like, the grains have to be so muted, so straight that it's not distracting, because the cabinet is simply a canvas for that carving and for the idea that was imbued in that carving. And so there is no other significant thought in that cabinet outside of the carving and the emotional experience that we all as humans were having in that moment. Similarly, the pochette cabinet that I made for our friend Kristen, the entire cabinet is a focus on the pochette. Like, it is a vehicle to display the pochette. Now, the form itself is lovely. But it's white so that it contrasts the pochette, and the pochette inside stands out and feels lively and human and illuminated.
Well, that's the analogy I was drawing to. The purpose of the tea box was to serve tea in the most beautiful fashion possible.
Sure. But that's you said the function versus the aesthetic.
Well, you said the one articulation thought was about the koi scene.
Okay.
You see how I mean? Like, do you see what I mean? It's a little subjective how you pick the one. You know what I mean?
But design and art is always subjective.
All right,
this is the frustrating part of it.
Go on.
So I think, to me, anytime that I develop a piece, what I do now, and I was doing this before he said this, is I try to get to the core of what the idea is and focus on the one idea, and all of the other design decisions come about if they fit the idea, and if they push the idea forward, right?
Yeah.
If they highlight it, and if they
supplement
it, if they don't, if it's distracting to it, then it goes out. So I think that's where I agree with that piece. Now, I don't know if I came to that conclusion independently, or I've been so influenced by Alad over the years.
Let me ask you a question.
Shoot.
Let's say you go into a gallery or like an art museum, and you see, paintings are particularly good at conveying a thought or an articulation, right? You've seen paintings that, like, hit you like a ton of bricks, and you're like, wow, that's what that really is about. That, right? Wouldn't it be phenomenal if the artist could engineer in 2 main points rather than just one? Let's say the main point was about like plastics in the environment, and it was a statement about plastic utilization in the environment. But what if that artist was so good that they could actually bundle a second statement that is juxtaposed to that first, equally important, right? At the same time, that didn't take away from the first statement and stood by itself in the second, like 2 thoughts being articulated together. Like, to me, that's the next level. I mean, sure, one thing is fine, and we can all, like, kind of pick one thing to highlight. But what if you were good enough to elaborate two thoughts, Erik.
Okay. All right.
Like, first isn't that the bar? Like,
that's totally fair. That is, and I don't disagree with that. We've talked about like what I call continuing revelation, like many a time in the past, right? The idea that like you see a thing and it means one thing, and then you get closer, you interact, you play around with, you spend time with it, and it means a different thing. That's huge. That's so hard. It's so fucking hard.
It's right. It is.
And when you do it, you recognize that it's something rare and you've done something really, really well. But the one area I'm going to push back on you against is the idea that it's necessarily better, because it might just be a different approach. So let me say this. Let me say this. I've been sitting with the idea of short stories a lot recently for some reason, and I don't really know why. I know. But listen, when I'm sitting in bed, my brain goes all kinds of places, and like this is the multidisciplinary like idea of like how do you pair like a story down to its essential details and like have an emotional punch. And there's you might know it's largely accredited to Hemingway, even though he probably didn't write it. The famous 6-word story, for sale, baby shoes never worn.
No.
You don't know that? Okay. No. So this is, it first appeared, I think, when Hemingway was like a child. So it's like there's evidence that he probably didn't write it. But for some reason, it's largely accredited to him. But in a newspaper, like in serial short stories, it's considered like one of the best, like I think it's called flash fiction, like the best like short stories you can. And so it's just 6 words, and it just says for sale, baby shoes, never worn. And in those 6 words, you have this like it creates this whole universe of like the story of these people selling these baby shoes. Like you can pull in all of the details there, and it has an emotional impact in 6 words.
Now, I don't know. Get out of here with that.
Now, I'm not saying it's a perfect story. What I'm saying is, in that instance, the significance is the single thought.
For sale, large stained bloomers, worn many times.
It's not...
Dude,
that's not the fucking point.
That conjures...
Have a heart, sir.
That conjures even more stories. Okay, go ahead.
The point is the like in that instance, in 6 words, you made a story. You told one thing. You told a one portion of one existence. So the idea in that moment is not necessarily to have multiple iterations that you can continue to explore and sit with. But if you write a whole fucking novel, you better have more than one idea. Otherwise, people are going to get bored after the first chapter.
Okay. Sorry, what was the point?
The point is I want to shy away from making a hierarchy of like one significant thought, articulating that is good, articulating 2 thoughts is better.
Oh,
I think they're just different goals.
Sorry, I will retract that. It's not better. It's harder to do. I'd say it's harder to accomplish.
Oh, sure.
I didn't mean better. Yeah. I guess maybe I meant more impressive in a way, because it's so hard to articulate 2 thoughts in one piece that don't stomp on each other and don't interfere with each other, but rather complement each other, and both being sort of profound and revealing themselves separately. Like, I haven't seen that very much, but maybe I've seen it a time or two. But when it happens, I'm like, whoa, shit, this person really is good.
Requires a level of dexterity that takes a really long time to develop. And I think that's why I can concede that maybe it's like better, quote unquote, but it takes more skill for sure.
To me, that's like the goal somewhere down the line. So when you said what Alad said about, great design is the articulation of a single thought, to me, that's a very limiting definition of great design.
That's it. Sure. So let me put some other context into that as well. Consider that Alad is at this point in his career a teacher, like mostly full time. And so he's dealing with students who don't really have experience or understand the elements and principles of design.
I would teach students that too.
You know exactly what happens with students, and we all did it in the beginning of our careers. We just throw every fucking thing at this piece. And then it gets so loud, so busy that nobody knows Erik, what the fuck you're trying to do.
Right. That is such the right thing to tell a student. I agree entirely. Yes. Yes.
Okay, we got all the way back around then. Good.
Well, no, you gave me the perspective that this is really about teaching, and that makes a ton of sense if you're teaching.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to tell Wendell Castle that one significant thought is the important thing. And he's like, "Fuck off, dog! Like, hold my beer," you know. That's. But all right. Fucking Jerry from Iowa might need a little bit more hand holding.
Jerry from Iowa. And before we end on this question, can we come back to the fact that you're lying in bed thinking about short stories? For all y'all out there who thought Eric's like daydreaming about like his girl or like something woodworking, he's like,
dog.
What are the elements of a good story?
I'm like, I wonder how Hemingway did what he did besides raging alcoholism. Oh my God. This is what happens at like 2:00 in the morning when my brain won't shut off. It's bad, guys. It's rough.
I don't know if that's a beautiful thing or a scary thing.
It's not neither.
No, but you know what the truth is? When I go to bed, I often use the first 5 to 10 minutes to think about like design problems in the shop or like stuff like that.
See, this is where like, this is the joy of going to work and then having this thing that you can do and obsess over, and it's a fun thing that's not giving you stress. And then it's like we were talking before the call, and today was just a fucking like a pile of guano on a fucking like, you know, like it was a disaster of a day. And so thinking about like, if I were to think about design solutions in bed, I would literally never sleep.
Well,
so I think about, how Poe wrote The Raven or died in a gutter,
Eric.
you know,
Eric, what the fuck?
I did a deep dive into iambic meter the other night.
Iambic pentameter or whatever the fuck.
Yep. This is what happens. I'm a fucking nerd, dog. I don't know what to tell you.
Eric, I'm very sorry to hear that.
It's fine. So let's see. Let's before we dive into the next question.
Oh, I have a good one.
I believe you. I want to take a moment to thank our Lord and Savior, William T. Burkle, for sponsoring this podcast. I will say this. I got the opportunity to go out there a couple of weeks ago and actually hang out with Bill for the morning and see the operation. The store is like, it's tucked away in this little tiny corner of a place. He's got everything you could possibly want. And if you don't have it, he will get it for you. And like to the point where he's got local material that he's milling up and drying himself and selling in the stacks. He's got slabs. He's got dimensional lumber. He's got Festool. He's got Mafel. He's got like all of adhesives, router bits. I don't want to name any other franchises that would be in bad form during an ad read for WTB. But if you can think of what those woodworking stores look like, it's like that.
Eric, is it more special? So it sounds more specialized, is it?
I think it's got everything the hobbyist needs. And if there is something that I need that, I could call up Bill and ask him to get it and he would get it for me. And even I'll give you an operation that nobody else has agreed to do, but Bill didn't even hesitate. This is great. So this is a little, Sarah story. So when Sarah and I started dating about 6 months in, I was cognitively pretty confident that we were going to get married. Emotionally, it took a while for me to accept that, but like,
I'm sorry, what? 6 months?
I bought a slab, and it was a slab that I intended to make into a piece for her if and when we got married. I called my shot. It was like a full court shot right there. I just had a vibe, I had a feeling.
You didn't tell me this, you bitch.
Listen, bitch, some things I play close to the chest until it's fucking time to ride, all right, baby? Let me just fucking have this, buddy boy. So anyway, I've got this fucking slab now, and now my thought is I want to turn it into a chest of drawers for her as like a wedding present. And I'm comfortable saying this on the podcast, A, because she doesn't listen to it anymore, and B, because I did drunkenly accidentally spill the beans to her, but I haven't given her all the design details yet. Okay. Anyway, I want to split this slab in half and use the front veneer for the shelves and then have that echo on the back. But the slab's like 36 inches wide, so I can't split that myself.
What is it? What species?
It's walnut.
Okay.
And so I asked a couple of folks if they'd be willing to like resaw it, knowing that I would lose a lot of material on there. It was and I talked to Bill, and he was like, "Yeah, just fucking come by and we'll knock it out, man." So Bill's my guy.
Yeah, it's that kind of play. He's that kind of dude. He'll just do what he's got to do to make it happen.
100%. 100%. So go support William Teresa Burkell and WTB Woodworking in Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. Thanks, Bill.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
All right. What do you got, cowboy?
Are you ready for question 2?
Oh, I was born ready.
I don't know if you were.
Wow.
All right. So, Erik, on the topic of authenticity.
Oh, boy.
This is something you and I talk about a lot.
Okay.
Right? Would you say that authenticity is important to the two of us?
I mean, 100%. Like personally, professionally, public facing.
Right. I would say it's like a cornerstone of how you and I want to live our lives and choose to live our lives, right?
Yes.
We don't beat around. Like, and if there's small talk, like you and I tend to like just go straight into the deep end of the pool. Like, because that's where the interesting shit's at, right?
100%. Like, what's the point of fucking around?
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to like set the stage on that.
I feel like I'm going to get called out for something right now.
No. So you and I are there about authenticity. Now, let's switch gears completely, okay? And let's think about our social media as a separate entity completely. So social media, you and I have we've engaged in social media, you more than me, but like for you, for example, your whole life revolves around it now. You have YouTube, and that your YouTube led to income, and that led to being able to sell even before YouTube, you were selling more items and pricing it higher because you had a growing healthy audience who knew about you and was buying you as the artist in your work, and endorsements. And even Sarah, right, came, and like your Emmy, Emmy award, and your impending marriage, right? Like, I mean,
that all came about from social media.
There's no doubt how social media has just played this incredible role in our lives too. For me, it like Copper Pig, like defined my whole last 7-8 years of woodworking. Like this is no small thing here. This is big. So my question, and so, sorry, one more statement before my question. So I would say that you've been very successful at social media. Like you've become quite well known, certainly on Instagram and YouTube, and you have 2 Netflix shows. So like and an Emmy, I'll say it again. Like you've been very successful, like, you know, in terms of like notoriety even.
Sure.
And we went to, by the way, the listeners may not remember this, but Erik and I went to a local bar in my town.
You motherfucker.
And we were sitting at the bar and having a drink, and the bartender takes a strange look at Erik and
it was so uncomfortable,
furrows her brow and says, "Are you from that show?" And when he sort of kind of nodded yes sheepishly, she screamed. And I mean
literally fucking screamed.
The entire restaurant turns around. Everyone at the bar,
silent.
The whole place,
like
pretty
a high school movie in the cafeteria.
Cameras came out. People started taking pictures. The woman next to me at the bar leans over and goes, "Is he a big deal? Should I know who he is?"
It was so uncomfortable.
And so I would say there's a level of somewhat fame and notoriety that has come with your social media presence. So, Erik, my question is authenticity compromised in any part by the pursuit of fame with social media?
Yes. Not even a hesitation. Of course it is. Because Here's why I say that. I do my best to be authentically who I am. And I think on the whole, if you were to take a big picture look, I think we could all assess, like, I don't think you would say that I'm a different person on camera than I am in real life. No. If anything, I'm a little bit more aware of like, I'm a little bit more cautious. I try to like be a little bit more inclusive. I could say some shit off the cuff to you that I would not say on the internet. But on the whole, I'm the same person. But there are days where you're just not feeling it. You know, there are days where you're like, today was it was a day. There was a lot of just business things that were happening that we talked about kind of pre-call. There was just a lot of stressors. There were a lot of distractions. And at the same time, I'm trying to film a video, and, you know, I got in there at like 9:30, 10 a.m. and I was excited to like dive into this project and get shit done. And so like, in scene one, I'm animated, I'm caffeinated, I'm excited. And then like I start doing another thing and I film another scene, and I got like one call and it was like a little distracted, but fine. And then by the third scene, you know, you're like, your head's somewhere else and you're trying to remember like, what are you even saying in this video? So what ends up happening is you just have to fake it. And that is maybe by definition insincere. But also, I would posit that that's not that different from teaching. Like, you show up to a class on Monday morning, you're sick, you're tired, you just got your heart broken, you're hungover, whatever the situation is. And those people are there. They paid you money to have a good experience, and you're going to give them a good experience, damn it. And it's not who you are, but it's not who you are in that very moment. And so I think it can become very easily something that compromises your authenticity, because it's so easy, especially when you're making the money that like some of our friends are making on social media, to just keep doing the thing that makes money, because you never know how long it's going to be there. And
how
so
do you can avoid that? How do you, Eric, avoid that trap?
I don't make as much money as them.
Yeah, but so I mean, let's say you did. What would happen?
That's a good question. I don't know. If we're being authentic in this moment, I don't know the answer to that. It is a thing I think about often, and it's a thing I was thinking about today, or maybe not today because of the shit day it was, but like yesterday, a couple of days ago. The pattern that I've seen to have found myself in on YouTube is my views are down, but my views are consistent. And what's happening now is the people who show up for my videos are there like every other Saturday, thick or thin, 20 to 30,000 views in the first 72 hours. And whether it gets more than that, it might tap out at 28, or it might hit 500,000. I don't know. But when they blow up, it's not the people I necessarily want to see the videos. So I'm pretty happy with this kind of small niche of people who are around, which are the people who are here to, like, the video I put out this past weekend is a video about the cabinet I just made for Sarah. And it's not like overly emotional or raw, but it is an emotional video. Like, it's me saying like, I've been bad at relationships in the past, and this person loves me and I love her. And so I made her a cabinet. And cause that's how I express love and gratitude to people.
Is that your love language?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
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 But I feel like
gift giving and acts of service.
Really? Because I feel like you're pretty good with like physical touch and words of affirmation.
Oh, that's how I receive. Yeah. No, I'm a big cuddler. But yeah, like the thing like, I'm not necessarily great at remembering to like stop and get flowers or like, get a card, or like I loathe Valentine's Day. Like, why can't we make Valentine's Day February 16th when everything is 10% the cost that it was 2 fucking days ago, But I will take a month out of my time and make you a piece that you'll have for the rest of your life.
Well, that means more than a box
That's
of
what
chocolates.
I think. That's what I
think so too.
But so to take that type of idea, that type of emotion, and put it onto the internet, that's a vulnerable place to be.
It sure is.
And so I think having that type of audience who is there for those types of videos, even though they're different from the normal types of videos I put out, I really appreciate. And those are the videos and the moments that anchor me to not fake it. Because when you fake it, those people get bored and go away. As well they should. And that's not a critique of them. Like, they are there for you in your journey and to learn what you know. And the moment it starts to feel like you're selling something to them, they're like, I don't know that I can trust you anymore.
Oof.
Yeah. And I think that's reasonable.
It's difficult when more money gets involved, though, isn't it? That's a difficult
course it is.
thing. Yeah. How do you navigate that?
Well, and I think we all get it wrong sometimes. I think that's an important thing to remember as a consumer of social media, is that we are humans, and there are people who will make the decision to just go after the dollar. Okay. But there are also those of us who are just trying to figure out how to fucking make a living making objects, and social media is an avenue to do that. And so what that means is, like, sometimes we're gonna make the wrong choice, and that's easier to do when you run. And I don't want to sound self-pitying here, so forgive me if it comes out this way, and push back against me if it does. But that's easier to do when you have one client who the thing didn't work out, the relationship kind of soured, and it just, like, the thing happened, and you can just take it off your website. You never tell anybody about it, and it goes away after a couple of years. You might feel that that pit in the belly of your stomach that's so like public. It's uncomfortable, but there's nothing that I do that isn't public facing. And so anything that I do, 30,000 people watch it, and then it can become a thing where, like, I have some, and I'm obviously,
I get it.
Space that I exist is so small comparatively, but I do have a lot of sympathy for some of those people who have made mistakes really publicly. And it's like, how do you judge their humanity based on
a single moment of a single video?
Yeah. That said, if you continue to do it, you're a shitbag, because you're just doing the same thing over and over and claiming.
Where's the grace? Like, we give our friends grace when they say things that are like a little bit like, what? And you just kind of let it go, because you're like, oh, it was a moment. Who knows what they meant? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, everybody gets two, man. Everybody gets two. You do it once, poor decision. You do it twice, hey, maybe we learned from it. The third time you do it, you're like, this is a habit now.
All right. Follow-up question for you.
Okay.
You have a lot of fans, like people who like love your channel, tune in like you said, and love your work, and love like your personality, who you are. I'm a fan. Shit.
I was a fan first, in fairness.
Do you ever ask yourself whether that gives you an inflated sense of self or ego that maybe you wouldn't otherwise have?
I'm sure it does, but maybe it's the little sibling in me. But I am also very aware of the places in which I'm not seen as good enough. And maybe this is also like, my oldest sibling is my sister growing up, and she's a like, I will fuck your shit up if you tell me that women are not as good enough as men. Like, she is one of my favorite memories of my sister was a dude tried to hit on her in 8th grade in the hallway. I was in 6th grade, and I saw her grab him by the lapels of his fucking polo shirt and slam him up against the locker. And she was like, if you ever fucking touch me again, I will kill you. And I was like,
love that.
I was like, that's my sister, bitches. Get the fuck out of here.
I love that.
Fuck off me. What the fuck you gonna do? So like, it is a little bit that kind of attitude, right? Of, I am aware of the places, namely the art world, but also sometimes the furniture world, the fine furniture world, the gallery world, where I am seen as a YouTuber rather than somebody who makes anything significant. And so I think that keeps me from getting an inflated sense of ego.
Oh, good answer, Eric. That was a really good one.
It was an honest. I don't know if it was good. It was honest though.
Well, that also. No, I know it was honest.
Yeah, that also hits on like, what the fuck does that matter? You know, and like, so how long am I going to just focus on the places that cast me aside, or the people who spite me? You know,
it matters because if you want to stay authentic, really authentic to who you are inside without external things hyping you up or changing your opinion of yourself in the world. I don't know. There's a certain authenticity that comes from within internally. And I feel like I don't want external factors to move that too much. You know?
Well, okay. So coming back to the original question, how do you feel it has impacted your authenticity, and how do you deal with it?
I worry a lot about this because Copper Pig blew up for me, and that changed the course of what I was making, why I was making it, who I was making it with, who I was making it for. Everything changed because of social media. So
hold on. You say everything changed. What changed specifically? Give me some ideas.
All right. So for the first 10 years of my woodworking, I was unknown. Okay. It was just me making shit in my garage for like friends and family and like an occasional sale at a local farm or something. And when I started Copper Pig on Instagram, seemingly overnight, there was a whole world of artists and woodworkers and people and consumers and just hobbyists and everything, like telling me what they liked, giving me instant feedback, buying the things I make, asking for more, asking to collaborate. And it's like, holy shit, like what a difference. And I mean, my whole life changed. Like Instagram, making an Instagram account, this isn't lost on me. It changed the course of my entire life. Mm-hmm. You were at my house last week having dinner and like having breakfast. We met on Instagram.
Because I sent you a DM one day that was like, your pictures are really good. How do you do that?
You and I are going to spend a week, you and Sarah and me and my wife are going to spend a week together in Switzerland in a couple months.
Yep.
Tell me that isn't a change in the course of your life.
100%.
And so it's been so profound and so unexpected that I continuously ask myself, and I'll ask you, what would you do right now if you didn't have any social media in your life at all? Who would you be and what would you be doing?
You answer first. Go ahead.
Oh, shit.
You motherfucker. You were like, I'm so good at just fucking redirecting this conversation. Let me just dip out of this fucking answer real quick.
Oh, God, because I don't know if I have... You got me. Because
Yeah, you don't have a fucking answer for that, do you, bitch? You motherfucker.
I don't. Okay. I knew it was a good question, but I hadn't thought about the answer. Okay. I suppose I would be still... I don't know. I don't know if I'd be doing all this crazy design stuff or not. I would still be I'm guessing I would be making commissions for like local friends or people I knew. I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you think that it would limit exclusively, or would the impact of not having social media be limited to the type of work and commissions that you're doing? Or do you think it would go beyond that?
It would go beyond that.
In what way?
I wonder if I'd still be woodworking.
Really?
I don't know. Like, because what if you're like, 20 years? This is 20 years I've been woodworking. For the first 10, it was like in isolation. And for the second 10, it was like this fucking internet free-for-all. And the internet free-for-all has brought so much opportunity, so much interest, so much art, so much so much everything. It was like my mind exploded for the last 10 years.
Sure.
What if I didn't have that? Would I just still be making like mission furniture in my garage?
Okay, well, let's if I can reframe the question to how I understood it. Let's not assume that the last 10 years didn't happen, but what if tomorrow on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. social media ceased to exist?
Oh, see, it's too late. I'm already a different person. I would continue with my current interests. Like my current interests are so deeply lodged in me now. I would continue, and I just.
But how would it affect what type of, like? Do you think that you would be doing different work if people weren't watching? Do you think you would have different clientele?
Now, yes. Sorry. If you took it away tomorrow, no, nothing would change. I'm like, I have so many deep interests now, and I would just make them. And if they don't sell, they don't sell. And if they sell, they sell. And if they just live in my basement, they live in my basement. I would probably find a gallery or something. I would look for galleries to sell them now, but I would keep doing the same things. But 10 years ago, would I have changed into Copper Pig, where I like pursued crazy design if there was no social media at all? I don't know. It could have totally derailed me. I could have maybe lost interest and found another hobby. I really don't know. Because if there's no audience, there's no buying audience, there's no interaction, there's no nothing, you get really lonely. I get lonely.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, everybody seeks community.
20 years in my shop of just making shit on my own and no one sees it and no one buys it. Like, I don't know if I could have done that.
So do you think, if woodworking is a thing that you fell in love with and wanted to keep doing without social media around, do you think that the notice, the praise, the admiration of, and that might be an overstep, of your wife and your daughter would be enough to sustain that? Or like in your friends, your immediate family?
At this point, I can sustain with very little praise or appreciation. At this point, I can. And at this point, if there was no social media tomorrow, I would just make shit for my daughter, my wife, and my closest friends and family for the rest of my life. I could probably be happy doing that.
But is that because you know you're good now? And do you know you're good because of
Eric,
the affirmation that you got on social media? Yeah, that's the hard thing, isn't it?
I worry that social media has perverted us, our sense of self. Sorry,
I
use
know
the word
that it's
perverted.
Sorry,
not perverted. Maybe that word is too strong. But it has skewed my sense of self that I would have otherwise had without social media. Okay, now I want to come back to something. You need to answer the fucking question. What would you do? What would you do if there was no social media?
If it didn't exist, or
like tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Let's start with tomorrow. I'm taking it away for the rest of your life. Who are you starting tomorrow?
I would go back to teaching. And here's the reason I don't hesitate about that. I don't think social media is, and I could be wrong. I mean, there was a time where I'm sure people didn't think television was a sustainable career. But I don't know what social media will look like in 20 years, 30 years. And I don't know that I want to be a part of it at that point. What I do know is I have always had this performative streak. And I don't mean performative in like a faking it way. Like I've always really enjoyed capturing a crowd's attention and making them laugh, like in giving them a joyful experience ever since I was a kid. You know, like I remember being a child and groups of adults would get me to reenact scenes from Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura, and I was like, this is what I was born to do, baby. Like making drunk idiots laugh in a crowd, like that's my fucking calling.
You are the life of a party. I will say that you are.
And I think teaching is a similar performative aspect in that, like you can make jokes. We have a task at hand, and I can I can bring you on a journey around that task, and I can make you enjoy
Erik.
that task.
I've never seen, all these things make sense, what you're saying about your personality, and I didn't realize how good a fit teaching was.
It really was. Like, I think that is largely, that's how I try to approach YouTube, is just like teaching you what I'm doing, in making it in an entertaining and educational way. I hate like edutainment. I hate that idea, but something that's like, hey, here's what I'm doing. It may be useful, it may be not, but you're going to be entertained. I'm going to make a joke. I'm going to be a little self-deprecating, and we're all going to be human together. So if it ceased to exist tomorrow, I think that's where I would go back to. If it never existed, I don't know. I don't
maybe
know
you
what
would have kept teaching.
Happened.
Would you have kept
maybe
teaching?
I would have kept teaching. Yeah, the only reason I left teaching is because I was contractually obligated to be available for the second season of the Netflix show.
Right.
I don't know where that would have went. What I do know is I'm also somebody who needs some percentage of unknown. And while I was teaching, there wasn't a lot of unknown outside of the fact that I was new to it and I wasn't good at it yet. So I could aim toward mastery. At this point in time, like whilst right now the unknown is a little imbalanced, there's more unknown than known, and so running a business is a little bit emotionally difficult at this very moment in time. I know that I couldn't live a life where all aspects are solved ahead of time, all problems are solved ahead of time. There needs to be some thing of, I don't know where this road's leading, but I'm going to walk it and find out. So I don't quite know what that looks like, but I suspect it's only 5 to 10 degrees different from what it looks like at the moment.
You said that in the future you worry about what social media will look like, and you're not sure you want to be part of it. What do you think it'll look like in 10 years? Do you have any guess?
I was listening to a podcast today about kind of how we millennials are like the last people to remember a time before everybody having a computer in their pocket. We had computer rooms, right? You remember that? Like there was one PC in the house, and everybody, like, you had a limited amount of time. It was the internet was a place you went to, not a place that bombarded you consistently. And I have a funny feeling that in 15 years, maybe sooner than that, maybe longer than that, the social media as we know it now will be seen as a thing that your parents did. Wow. And it won't be what it is now. And I don't know if it will be better in that it goes away, or worse in that it becomes like something even more pervasive. But like the way that Gen Zers see drinking as something that their parents did, and so they're not drinking largely. They're doing other things.
Sorry, educate me on this. What?
Gen Zers,
how old are Gen Zers?
Sarah's a Gen Zer, mid-20s.
Okay, so mid-20s, okay.
Yeah. A lot of them don't drink because they know the downsides of alcohol. But because we're human and everybody imbibes in something largely, they're taking on other vehicles of intoxication, we'll say.
Okay.
And drinking, like drinking beer, drinking liquor is something that's seen as like old people drink. We microdose, we vape. It's a whole different world out there, man.
I'm a little shocked. I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's a whole different world out there. And I think similarly, like social media in 10 to 15 years could be a thing of like, already it's like millennials, Gen Xers are on Facebook, millennials are on Instagram, Gen Zers are on TikTok. And then I feel like it's going to come a point where it's just like, we're just rejecting the whole social media thing.
I wonder if you're right. I won't even hazard an opinion because I have no idea, but that's interesting.
All
right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Erik, authenticity and how social media has skewed my sense of self and my sense of design and what I make is always on my mind. And I don't know that I have an answer to it, but I sure as shit think about it. And yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it is what it is. It happened, and that's that.
So many things in life are neither good or bad, and both good and bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just, you know what it is? It made us friends, so I'm grateful for it, buddy.
Oh, that's a great way to end that. Oh, I love that, Erik. I love that. That's a great way to end that. That's true. I wouldn't have you without it.
Goddamn right, baby.
All right, I have a small second seg to follow
All right, hit me.
with, and it's not any big heavy, but I was recently coming back from the Jason's Patreon summit, which we're going to talk about in the after show. So if you want to hear about how that went, tune in for the after show. And really, the after show is not so much about the summit itself, but about my observations about our people. Like, why do people want to come together so bad around this thing we love, this craft? And what did I see emotionally and intellectually and philosophically about my interactions? I think that's actually way more interesting. Like, those observations were way more interesting than just saying, oh, it was great, we had a breakfast and we had this and we had that. Like, I was kind of looking at it from an experimental point of view. Like, why do we want to come together so bad? And what does it give us? So I want to talk about that in the after show. But on the flight back, I was kind of raw dogging it a little bit. I was just kind of looking out the window, not doing much. And I was like, why don't I I'll see what American Airlines has for a podcast. And I noticed this podcast by Michael Pollan called How Caffeine Created the Modern World. And I was like, that sounds kind of interesting, because I've always, I'm a huge coffee drinker. I love coffee. Yep. I have a nice espresso machine, so I make lattes in the morning, but I don't drink a lot of coffee. I just have one a day or in the morning, and that's it. I don't usually have more throughout the day. No, just morning. And I was always curious scientifically about caffeine. Like, you hear so much, right, Erik? You probably heard like, oh, caffeine's good for you. Oh, coffee's bad for you. It's good for you. It's bad for you. It's good for you. It's bad for you.
Yeah. It's the smoking of our age without the lung cancer.
I was like kind of curious. Like, Michael Pollan is pretty good. Like, he does pretty decent due diligence on these topics, whatever he does. I found his work very compelling. And I was curious what he'd say about caffeine. And so he basically, and I did this entire audiobook yesterday. Like, it was only about 2 hours front to back.
Okay.
And I was so it was so interesting. Like, the first point, and there's some things I want to point out to you that I think affect both of us. The first thing is that caffeine was just a happy accident by a plant. Like, the plant made the caffeine molecule just by chance. It's an
insecticide, yeah?
Right, an insecticide, right?
Yeah.
So the insects don't eat it. And it just so happens that the hominid species that dominated the world happens to have a psychoactive response to this dumb little molecule that happened to be for insects. But not only that, it binds to our adenosine receptors in our brain, and it makes us feel good in a way that's like non-toxic, not really, it's not really bad for us, and it makes us feel better. And so this dumb little molecule, just by chance, co-opted us to basically take this plant and grow it to like 1,000,000 times its natural habitat, right? Like, that little plant hit the jackpot. The coffee plant and the tea plant, they hit the motherfucking jackpot.
And the wheat plant?
And wheat and rice. Yeah. I mean, but those are based on their So the thing that I wanted to point out that I thought was very cool, I was like, this is so good, is he's talking about caffeine, right? And he's talking about how it makes us feel alert. And what that did during the Industrial Revolution is it meant we could work longer hours, and we could work night and graveyard shifts, right?
Yep.
And so it truly enabled the Industrial Revolution.
100%.
Like, coffee shops popped up all over London in the late 1600s after it was discovered.
When they were still frowned upon.
Yes.
Yep.
And so Okay, so you say, oh, that's great. It helped our productivity. It helped us focus. It helped our drive. It helped us stay up late and like get so much shit done. And then the next morning, though, we're tired because we didn't sleep well.
We didn't sleep. Yep.
And so then you're like, oh, I'm so tired and groggy. So you need caffeine to pull you out of the grog that the caffeine caused in the first place. It's like this thing is like it's like a self-perpetuating cycle that the caffeine kept you up late, which made you tired and gave you bad sleep. So then you needed more caffeine in the morning, which kept you up late, which kept you productive. So you didn't sleep well, which you need caffeine in the morning. And I thought, Jesus Christ, like I never really conceptualized it as like this cycle like that.
It's an addiction cycle of stimulants instead of downers.
Yeah, but I never really thought of it like that. I just thought, oh, this shit tastes good.
Well, so I've also heard the argument, interestingly, that the part of the reason the Industrial Revolution happened is certainly because caffeine allowed us to stay up later, work harder, think more clearly. But beer and alcoholic beverage did two things before we understood germ theory. Number one, it killed germs. Right,
because the alcohol,
because of the alcohol in the boiling system, but also it gave calories in a world where calories were hard to come by.
Right.
So it kind of fleshed out your diet a little bit. The thing is, if you're doing largely manual labor, you can do that on a buzz. Like you can, if you ever wonder, for anybody listening who has never worked a blue collar job in their life, and maybe, and I'm not saying this judgmentally, like this is genuinely a thing I've seen multiple times, and people get uppity, including my mother from time to time will get uppity about this, of like, you hire somebody to come to your house to do X job, whatever it is, masonry job, stone masonry, just framing. And you're like, I'm pretty sure this guy's high. Like, what the fuck, man? I'm paying him good money to come do this job. Yeah, because he can do it high. Like, it's not, it is a thing that like, and this is a thing I've experienced many a time in my life of like, my hands know what to do without my mind thinking about it. And so you can just do the thing. It doesn't matter. Like, you can be off in La La Land and you're doing the thing because you like the competency of your craft, of your skill is so high, and it's a manual labor thing that like you can do that without being in your right mind. And if you do it day in and day out, 5-6 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day, you have to do something to keep your mind stimulated. And so what a lot of people do is they turn to shit that like takes the edge off.
Oh my God.
So you can be out there in the fields 1,000 years ago farming with a buzz because you had 3 too many beers at lunch. Fine.
Apparently that was the norm in England before coffee.
100%.
And they
but
said,
you know what you can't do with a buzz is like solve engineering problems to figure out the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, they said
it flipped the script.
Yes, they said it was about the Enlightenment came just at the right time for all.
The Enlightenment happened because those people were no longer drunk out of their minds by 2 p.m.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It like this coincided with it. And your point about germs, like alcohol used to purify the solution to some extent with germs, but now you have to boil the coffee and the tea. So which is even better. Yep. It's even better than alcohol. So
yes. So the beer making process, you boil the grains in order to create that, right? But to your point, yes, you boil the water and the coffee, so it's the same. Right. It's the same component.
I was like, wow, I never really thought that deeply about caffeine and the whole. No. Apparently, you're all over this. You knew every fucking point of the book.
I think about it often because my mother is just like. My father was an alcoholic and she's always been, she's struggled with the idea of addiction, but then she always is just like, yeah, I'm a coffee addict. And I'm like, so what's the difference? It's social acceptance is what it is.
Are you a coffee addict?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I will go through periods where I go cold turkey because I know that I'm a coffee addict. For sure.
So that got me wondering, like, all right, so and there's a lot of sleep researchers who are saying like the coffee's bad for us. Apparently, a lot of the circadian rhythm researchers and sleep researchers do not drink any caffeine. Sure. And I started thinking, okay, so is this really bad for me then? I'm thinking about it scientifically. So I have one coffee, which is probably equivalent to at least 2 cups at around 8 a.m. And I don't drink any the rest of the day. So the question becomes, how much did I spike my caffeine level in my blood? What's my peripheral plasma level of caffeine? And what's the half-life? How quickly is it metabolized?
Say about 6 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus, how do you know all this?
I do some science too, bitch. Come at me, motherfucker.
No, seriously. How did you know the half-life of caffeine off your cuff?
Does not everybody know that it's 6 hours?
No? Are you serious? No, I'm serious. Yeah. Did you look that up?
No,
Did you look that up?
I literally can show you the window. It's just us talking right now.
How the fuck did you know that?
I'll give you some, Eric. Historical context.
No, I don't want historical context. I want to know how you knew the half-life of caffeine was 6 hours.
I've read it over the years. I have no idea.
Fuck off.
Yeah, it's about 6 hours.
That's ridiculous. It is. It's 5 to 6 hours, fucker. So
now, here's what I will say. I will say 2 things. Number one, this strikes me similarly as like now people are contending with the carcinogen effect of like cooked meats, of like blackened meats when you grill something or char something. They're like, well, that's technically carcinogen.
It is.
And I hear that and I get it. And maybe caffeine's not great for you. Maybe beer isn't great for you. Maybe grilled meats aren't great for you. You also have to live a life that's more than just like porridge. You know, like
that's that's too carby.
You can't. Yeah, that's also bad for you.
Wait. I want to come back to the half-life. So,
okay.
And then I have a thing about the safety. So, all right. So how often are we awake, or how many hours are we awake? Like 16, 15 hours are we awake?
Sure.
Let's say, that's 3 half-lives roughly.
Mm-hmm.
So it means, that's 50%, 25%, 12%. So it's at 10%, let's say, just to make even numbers, it's at 10% of the highest level it started at in the morning. And then the question is that level at 10% going to affect your sleep? Or is it psychoactive at that level? Like what's its affinity for binding the adenosine receptor, and would it make a difference? For me, I don't think it affects my sleep, but I would have to do an experiment where I went off it for like a month compared the sleep and somehow measured it. But I'll say I have no trouble sleeping. So for me, I'm okay with like a coffee in the morning and then nothing the rest of the day. And I don't think there's any negligible effects. However, I have had coffee late in the evening and it does disrupt my sleep for sure.
Oh, for sure. So, no, I won't drink coffee after like 2 to 3 o'clock.
So then I started wondering, okay, if it's so bad for you, if caffeine's bad in a way because it disrupts your sleep and good sleep is important for longevity and health, then do people who drink a lot of caffeine live shorter lives? Because in theory, they would, right? Because you're disrupting your sleep all the time, which means your brain is not like recovering as well through deep sleep and REM sleep and all these types of sleep. There's like 8 types of sleep now that they measure. If that's true, if it's so detrimental that you're impacting your sleep all the time and your brain doesn't get a chance to recover and your body is suffering because of it, that would tell me that high caffeine drinkers would have either like a predisposition for disease or shorter lifespans than those who don't drink caffeine. And if you Google what is the longevity lifespan of coffee drinkers versus non-coffee drinkers, well, coffee drinkers live longer.
Okay.
And they found that it doesn't matter whether it's caffeinated or decaf.
Really?
Yes. That's
interesting.
And what they say, Eric, is that the reason it has a longevity effect on lifespan is it's the other 1,000 compounds in coffee, many of which are antioxidants. And you know what antioxidants do? They prevent DNA damage. That's what like these oxygen radicals go around in your cells, and they're highly reactive oxygen species with like an unstable, let's say they're unstable chemically, and then they bind to your DNA and they do bad things to it. Whereas an antioxidant will bind to that thing before it gets to your DNA and like take it away. So that's what antioxidants do. They prevent oxygen radicals from damaging your DNA. So you're taking in every day all these antioxidants in the form of, and there's many of them, but there's thousands of compounds in coffee and tea. So, and the fact that it works for either decaf or caffeinated says that it's the antioxidants, not the caffeine, that give you the lung. So you're balancing two things now.
You're outweighing one with the other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You know, the caffeine late at night might be doing bad things to your sleep, which is not great for your body, but the antioxidants are doing good things for your body. And the sum total is that coffee drinkers apparently in the latest round of studies live a little bit longer. And this isn't big differences, but they do statistically. So I had to like go full circle with this shit to figure out if I wanted to have a coffee tomorrow.
It's a really interesting. All right. So the historical little tidbit that I was going to bring up to you before, I don't know that it doesn't impact anything, but it does. To me, it's a funny side story about the history of coffee, and also might illuminate how we have seen it in the past. So for the first 1,000 years, or I don't know when coffee was identified and brought into the mainstream. It certainly wasn't in the year 0, but sometime in the first millennia, somebody discovered coffee and it became a thing that people started drinking.
It became popular in the 1600s. It was discovered in Ethiopia, apparently.
In the Western world, it became popular there, but it was known long before.
Oh, right.
Yep. And so for the first few hundred years of its existence, it was seen akin to cocaine in the Catholic Church, and it was seen as like, this is a thing good people don't do, and it was illegal until I'm 99% positive it was Pope Leo something. But that might be a recency bias given that we have a Chicago Pope now. But Pope Leo had a cup of coffee and he was like, oh no, this shit slaps actually. This is good by the Catholic Church now. And since then, that was in the mid 1300s. Since then, coffee has been okay to drink by the Catholic Church standard.
I love that.
He was literally like, he did a line of coffee and he was like, nah, I'm in. Count me right the fuck in, dog.
I'm in, dog. This shit slaps.
So that's how it goes from a drug that will kill you and like destroy your soul to yeah, this is good.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, you know, I looked up, Eric, like how, like, just to figure out, like, what am I, so where do we go from here with caffeine, right? Like, what's the common sense, like, best practice? And in fact, there's a review from just last year where we're still trying to figure out how much and when caffeine is enough or too much or too little that it affects your sleep or doesn't affect your sleep. Like, this is 2024 and we're still trying to figure out when and how much caffeine is okay. Like, what the fuck?
This is what I love maybe most about science is, and you've obviously never been this type of person, but a lot of people just carry themselves in the way that like we know everything there is to know.
Apparently
not. And then we're out here like, we don't even know how much fucking coffee to drink, dog. We don't know shit about fuck. Like, what? We put a man on the moon and you don't know if 2 cups of coffee are bad for you?
I know. We have Mars. We have rovers on Mars, like looking at sulfur, and we don't know how much
outside of our solar system, and we don't know.
Oh, and so,
Jesus.
I guess the bottom line for me is like, have it early in the day, or if you're not particularly caffeine sensitive, just make sure it's not disrupting your sleep is kind of the bottom line. If it's disrupting your sleep, you're going to pay a price. And I was like, okay, it's not disrupting my, that I can tell. Anyway, are you going to have a coffee tomorrow?
You goddamn right I am.
Me too. Me too.
I'm going to have another whiskey after we end this call too. Like, you're not going to convince me otherwise.
Apparently, alcohol is even more disruptive of sleep.
I know.
But since I'm 2 whiskeys deep, too late for that shit.
Goddamn right, man. Let's dive. So this has been Good Science Boy with Paul and Eric. I hope that you guys like this seg. Please let us know if you want more.
Is that the name?
Oh, yeah. Good Science Boys with Paul and Eric.
I love it.
Hondo P. Yeah, we're We're gonna come up with a quick little ditty, a theme song.
I'm just a good science boy who likes to make things out of wood.
That's going to be the intro to this seg from now on in the future.
Well, I think we did it again, Eric, because I've kind of forgot we were recording a podcast here and there.
We were just talking about coffee.
It's like an hour and 25 minutes, and I'm like, what on earth did we just talk about for an hour and a half?
Well, in the after show, we're going to talk about your observations at Jason's Patreon summit.
Yes, we will. All right, buddy. That was fun.
All right, champ. That was a good one. 2 for 2, I feel like.
I like that. I like that conversation. That was fun.
Hell yeah.
I will not forget Alad's quote.
It's good. It's something to sit with.
I'm going to be thinking about that. Even though what did I call it? Kitschy and bullshit.
You did. You straight out the jump. You were like, this fucker doesn't know what he's talking about.
I stand by it. All right, buddy.
All right, homie. Thanks for listening, France.
Yeah,
join us in the after show.
Yep, we'll see you in the after show. And you remember how to get that, right? We talked about it at the beginning.
Patreon. And
bye.
Go to Bonfire. Bye.